call, and the Hogs can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day to those who celebrate. Welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. Today's episode is presented by Razorback Apparel. Go to razorback.com and use code HOGSBY20 for 20% off your first purchase today. Oh, man. It is late Tuesday night as I record here. Just got back from some baby classes with Michelle. Good stuff. Really was. I was kind of dreading it going into it. I was like, I don't know about this, man. There for about 3 hours or so. Got a lot of good information. We felt better walking out of there than we did walking in. I thought we learned a lot of things, but I will say there are very few things stranger than watching this older nurse, really, really nice lady. She's awesome. But just push a baby doll's head through a skeleton pelvis while making birthing moans. Just odd, man. It's just kind of weird. Just something that you're not, expecting, you're not prepared for. But hey, they're preparing us for the big day, I guess. So we made it out unscathed. We got another class to go to next week, but interesting times indeed. I didn't know what to expect, but we made it through. We're getting closer to the real thing. Anyway, a quick call to action before we get rolling here. We are getting out ahead of securing advertising for the upcoming basketball season. It's going to be here before you know it. I mean, it's literally right around the corner at this point. The countdown is on, and we're super proud of our first year at the Pod at the Palace. 1.3 million YouTube views, 240,000 watch hours, 125,000 podcast downloads, 11 million impressions there with YouTube alone. So it's only getting bigger from here, folks, because we have some really, really exciting new stuff that we're going to be able to share with you here pretty soon. And also, now you know who we are. We were just getting started for this thing last year. So if you're in sales or you're a business owner, you know someone who is, and you would like to help us, help hit me up. Curtis at InsideArkansas.com or slide in those Twitter DMs at Kurt Wilkerson _. We're looking for advertising partners for our daily morning Pod at the Palace episodes here, as well as our post-game shows, which go off the rails. You guys know that because you tap into them. The report cards, breaking news, live streams, and much, much more. So opportunities for lots of eyes and ears that would be very, very familiar with your business in a hurry. Okay, on to hoops. A little PSA as we get things rolling here to be on the lookout for. The SEC schedule will officially drop at some point this week. I believe that is coming today, Wednesday. The women's schedule came out on Tuesday, so it's only logical that's going to wind up being the case. It's usually how these things work. What does that mean? Well, we already know the who and the where. We got that a little while back, but now we will know the dates. So exactly how this lines up, who will the Hogs get for their SEC opener? Are they going to be traveling again, or do they get somebody at home? Who are the Saturday home games at Bud Walton Arena this year? The schedule was a little last year for those Saturdays. We already know that there's some really, really good home games. Where they going to do the thing where it's a midweek at 6:00, or are they going to give us some cool Saturday games? What is the date for Kentucky's L in Fayetteville? Like when is that scheduled loss going to be for BBN? For the love of all things holy, just don't screw that one up. Please, just don't screw that one up. Right? Make it a Saturday, make it prime time, make it after February 1st. And I already said, if they do that, if they just at least get that right, I promise that I won't nitpick the rest of it too hard. Because I am excited to see, what are the tough road swings that Arkansas is going to have. I remember last year they had it was Kentucky, and then they had to turn around on the short notice, the Saturday, Tuesday, and go to Texas. And then they had at Texas A&M and at Auburn in a particular week. There's some pretty tough road swings there. So I kind of wonder what we're going to see going into this season. We know in some way Arkansas is going to get screwed. They always do. What will it be? I mean, will they have a 3-game road swing where you got to go to Bama and Auburn and Florida or something? I just don't know, but I can't wait. And when it happens, when it gets dropped, we will obviously do a very deep dive, way too deep of a dive into all of it here on the show. So be on the lookout for that. Okay. Let's focus today, though, on recruiting talk, because Rivals on 3, excuse me, whatever we're going to call that merger, because On 3, I think, is for the most part the team coverage, and they're doing the transfer portal stuff, and then Rivals is like the high school recruiting rankings and all that. So I guess technically Rivals, but they're one and the same. It's a little bit confusing. Cool idea though. I mean, it's good. They updated their class of 2026 rankings now that the grassroots season is over. So what I want to do today is mostly use that to hit you with where the Razorback targets landed, and then use it as a quick springboard, more importantly, I think, into the latest on where things stand with the recruitment for these guys. So just a little bit of an update type of day here for you. Now, the 24/7 sports rankings will be soon. And that will be the one that I'm going to put a lot more stock into from the actual rankings and where these guys stand standpoint. The difference that sets 24/7 apart, in my opinion, is that they have a 5-man team of national scouts and evaluators who are all over the country, and then they come together, kind of get in the war room, and they yell at each other and they argue, but then they come to a consensus with their rankings. And I just think diversity of thought is really, really important when you do these things. And the reason that On3 Rivals frustrates me is because they are literally adding every college sports media personality in the country. All of them. They're just buying everybody. It's unbelievable what I saw. They got Josh Pate today, and they got Brett McMurphy a little while back, and they sniped Inside Carolina from 24/7 Sports. And I'm sure they'll probably hire, Jonathan Gavoni here. So I know he's a free agent. It's unbelievable. And good on them. That's really, really cool. But they're doing all that, and then they're relying on one guy for their basketball rankings. And it's too much of an undertaking for a single person. They need to get Shaw some help. They do. Also, understand when I'm teeing off on them at times, on their rankings at times, it's directed at the national team or the guy. It's definitely not Hogbeat, our Arkansas side over there. I love those guys. JC's been one of my great friends for years. Me and Kyle Sutherland kind of got started at the same time. I used to hop on his old Tex Hogs podcast like every week or two to talk Razorback basketball. We go way back. Dan Fair is a really, really good dude. I love those guys. I want to make sure, don't get it misconstrued. There's no beef with my boys over there. But when it comes to their rankings, man, they just they get under my skin, and I think a lot of Razorback fans feel the same way for obvious reasons. But now, though, I'm going to rant quick, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I actually want to get into the updates. JJ Andrews got a bump, but he is at number 24 on the Rivals update. That is significantly lower than he is and will be anywhere else. And I hate to say that I told you, but the writing has been on the wall with the way that Jamie Shaw has discussed JJ at every opportunity given. It's just the way it is. He's not a believer. He puts less value on what makes JJ special, and that's okay. It's okay to feel that way. It's my evaluation of a player isn't the ultimate authority, and neither is Finkelstein's over at 24/7 or Shaw's at On3 or whatever. I just think that this is a perfect example of the reason why you need more voices in the room to balance out evaluations a little bit, because there's going to be guys that you're higher on than others and lower on than others, and having some more voices in there to come to a consensus, I think, is important. Because when I look at this, I see JJ is behind guys who played poorly down the stretch of the summer. I see him behind guys who haven't touched a basketball in a competitive setting since March. And I have a hard time understanding that. And look, I understand how rankings work. I do. I've done them before. I know that these are not the most productive player rankings, because if they were, JJ Andrews would be like top 3 in his class. A lot of it is next level projection, NBA projection, but it just feels like there needs to be more of a balance there. But, if you're not sold on JJ Andrews as an NBA prospect, okay, fine. But at some point, I do think you got to start taking into account him just consistently busting the asses of the guys that you were in love with elsewhere in the class. I mean, at some point that has to matter, right? Especially when he's doing it so efficiently, which was the case with him. It's not like he's an inefficient shot chucker out there on a bad team that's just putting up hollow stats. No, it's not that at all. He's the MVP of the winner of Peach Jam. And so some of the critiques just, they kind of drive me crazy. Oh, he can't finish with his non-dominant hand. And I'm not so sure about his second level paint reads. what are we doing? He's going into his senior year of high school. He's not a point guard. Like, what are we talking about here? How about he was the Peach Jam MVP and outdueled literally everyone while he's still developing those skills. In some ways, there are times where, and yeah, I'm taking up for our guy here. I feel like JJ Andrews is a victim of his own work. Like it almost feels to me like at times he gets penalized for not being allergic to a weight room and already having a college ready body. You know what I mean? Because people just see he's jacked, he's strong, he's physically impressive, and of course he uses that to his advantage. And he dominates guys who aren't where he's at. But he almost gets it's almost like, well, it's just bully ball. Oh, if you watch him play, you know that that's not the case. Meanwhile, and no disrespect intended here, you have a bunch of skinny, inefficient, and marginally productive players who are ranked ahead of him because they're athletic and rangy. But it's like, oh, buddy, if they ever fill out like JJ already has and develop some skill like he already has, they might be as productive as him, as he is already. It's like a prime example to me of, of this. It's Mika Murinen, who, and again, I know Arkansas is recruiting him to a degree here, and I see the vision, but this is a guy who flashed a year ago. And since then, he averaged 7 and 4 as a high school junior, and then he took the grassroots season off, but he's still top 15. Why? Well, it's because he's 6'10", and he's given the mirage that he can dribble, pass, and shoot. And so hopefully one day it'll fully click. It's the projectables, the intangibles. So it's all about what you weigh there. And there's room for that. And there's also there's a world for that, but there has to be a level of appreciation, I think, as well, for a guy who already looks the part physically and has also been dominant in the same gym as all these other guys. And also, frankly, like it's hard not to take it personal as a Razorback fan with JJ when you see this. And again, if you're giving him this unbreakable ceiling, apparently, because you don't believe in him or his pro potential, why isn't Jordan Smith Jr. ranked right there beside him? Another terrific and productive high school player he's going to ball out in college, but he's a 6'1" non-shooter who's not a true point guard by trade. You believe in him? He'll get the benefit of the doubt. But if he winds up committing to Arkansas, I would wager some that he winds up getting the Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas treatment when it's all said and done and gets dropped as well. I've never been a guy that's been a big on that conspiracy theory. It's like, oh gosh, it's the Arkansas curse, man. You get a guy or whatever, and then he drops. And I don't feel like we saw that as much with Muss. But man, I don't know. It just seems like a pattern developing. Anyway, you know who is high on JJ Andrews as a pro prospect? Bleacher Report. Shout out to my guy Lucas, by the way, for bringing my attention to this at the end of Inside Arkansas Live on Tuesday, because Bleacher Report put out their first 2027 mock draft. So not next summer, but 2 years from now. And we mentioned the other day how it's a pretty shaping up to be a weak class. So we might see more fringe first round guys this next year come back to school and try to run it back. At any rate, like this thing was wild. You guys need to go check it out if you haven't already. First of all, they had JJ Andrews projected to go 4th overall. 4th. Behind Tyron Stokes, Caleb Holt, and Dylan Mingo in the class. Even in my greatest defenses of JJ Andrews, and I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, he's a top 5 player. What are we doing here? No, I don't think that. But I would have JJ as a 5-star, and I would have him inside my top 15. It's just where I'm at with it. Whatever. But I never really looked at him, especially in this particular class. That's weaker, as a surefire, like one and done type of guy. If so, maybe back of the first round type of top 5 for him. As a one and done, that's big time praise. So somebody's picking up what he's putting down. Holy moly. But then I keep scrolling. So I was like, all right, well, how's the rest of this look? And Jordan Smith Jr. right there at 5. Okay. Mika at 12. Okay. Then all of a sudden, back-to-back picks at 24 and 25 You have Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas. Like, what? Okay. They had me going for a while with the JJ thing, and then it's just crazy. So a second year at Arkansas for both of those guys in this projection, that probably wouldn't be a great omen for how this coming season is going to play out. Maybe, but I don't know, because I think you're banking on both of those guys being really, really good for you if you're going to make the type of run you think you can. I never imagined Acuff and Leak both back for a sophomore season. That'd be insane. And I don't think it's going to happen. But it sure would be fun. I mean, think about that for a second. If you had sophomore Darius Acuff and Malik Thomas back with JJ Andrews coming in, maybe Billy Richmond back, Isaiah Sealy back, year 2, Paolo Samedo, maybe Malik Ewan. I mean, they could just go add Arifan John, and at that point, let's just call it a title run. You know what I'm saying? I mean, good grief. So I kind of have a feeling that best case scenario for Arkansas in terms of retention would be you get one of those guys back. Like Acuff gets drafted, Leak comes back for year 2. I think it's more likely that both of them go as one and dones, but both of them coming back is just something I never even considered. Hell, just yesterday we were talking about how, the hot take Tuesday was, they're going to have a record-setting draft this coming year. Well, if it plays out this way, like Bleacher Report thinks, it might be the next year where they wind up having that, because who knows who else they bring in this 2026 class. But man, I thought that was crazy. Just had to share that with you guys. Now, moving on from all that. And listen, I stumped for JJ, and it's not even really a Razorback thing. He happens to be committed to the Razorbacks, but he's also an in-state kid. And I've just been so impressed with how far he's come and developed his skill. And he hasn't been one of those in-state kids who's flamed out, because you've had several of them who have just been bigger, stronger, more physically ready at a younger age. And then they don't develop their skill. Everybody hits puberty and catches up with them physically. And then they kind of stagnate out as a prospect. And JJ just hasn't done that. He's continued to get better and better and better. His game, his nuance, his feel, his ability to shoot the basketball, all those things showed marked improvement all spring and all summer. And he was so efficient. And I just want him to be given the respect and the props that come along with some of the things that he's done, because it's been pretty special. Multi-time state champion, back-to-back Peach Jam MVP. I mean, it's really impressive. But the most important thing is he doesn't care. And it doesn't change what he brings to the table for Arkansas. So, all right, let's keep rolling here through these rankings. And again, we'll kind of use that to springboard just a quick hits updates on where the recruitment stands with all these guys. Tyron Stokes at the top. One of the only 2 5-stars that Rivals has. And you look at that, you're like, what do you mean they only have 2 5-stars? They just do it a little bit differently. Like they're going to expand that throughout the year. They'll wind up with a dozen to 15 or so, but they just hand those out a little bit differently throughout the process. Whatever. No surprise, he's number 1. No competition with him for number 1. There's no drama there. As far as his recruitment, I know that Kentucky's been getting a whole bunch of buzz, and rightfully so. I mean, I hear it too. He's got visits with, Oregon, USC, Gonzaga, Louisville, the hometown school, all, in there. As much as I hate to admit this, I tend to agree right now that Kentucky seems to have the edge at the moment. But I continue to be told from places that I trust, keep an eye on Arkansas here. Don't write them off. To me, he doesn't do media, and he keeps it all very close to the vest. So you never really know where this is going to go. But I trust where I'm hearing this. So my thought process on it, probably trending elsewhere right now. If Arkansas gets him on campus, I think we have something to really talk about. Until that happens, I'm not going to get too worked up over it. But if they get him on campus, then I really do believe it's game on. I maintained that for a while, and I'm sticking to my guns there. We'll see if it happens. Brandon McCoy is the other 5-star, and he's at number 2. rivals. Really quickly on him. Jordan Smith Jr. is Arkansas's top priority in the backcourt. We know that, we've established that, but if Arkansas starts to feel like they're losing momentum, or that he's really trending towards Duke, or the visit doesn't go as planned or gets rescheduled, whatever, do not be surprised to see Cal make a heavy push here with McCoy. Duke, for what it's worth, is heavy on both these guys. I don't necessarily think they'll land them both. I wouldn't put it past them because John Shire's done a hell of a job recruiting these freshmen, but wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. Like if things start trending the wrong direction with JSJ, I could see them moving on McCoy. Speaking of Jordan Smith Jr., he is at number 6. And I think that's probably going to be the lowest that we see him anywhere. It's also fitting that he's number 6 on the same day that he releases his final 6 schools. Duke and Arkansas on there, who we believe are the top dogs. Kentucky in there. Hometown Georgetown in there, and then Syracuse and Indiana, the other 2 to round out his final 6. So much history between his high school, Paul VI, and Duke. We've kind of gone through it before. All the guys who have come out of that school and wound up Duke Blue Devils. He's already visited there. He's said that he might schedule another trip there. If you want to call Duke the leader at this stage, I'm not going to push back on it. I'm not. But Arkansas is absolutely in the thick of it, and that visit to Fayetteville is going to loom very, very large. Cal gets his 5-star moneymaker guards. He just does. And there are other ones out there, but he's really zeroed in on Jordan Smith Jr. So there's no chance in hell that I'm just going to count Arkansas. I don't care who they're going up against in a recruiting battle here. Arafan Gian getting a well-deserved bump. Really happy to see this for him. Inside the top 10, he's at number 9. Love it. Absolutely love it. I think that's fair. Good job on that evaluation for sure. Now, Houston, they're your leader at this stage. And the teams that I believe to be firmly in the mix who could make up ground and ultimately, snipe them away, it's Arkansas, it's Kentucky. He has visits scheduled to both spots. Cal has done just a great job prioritizing him, recruiting him. They've been active with him since Peach Jam. They've done a really good job here. So is Houston. Mark Pope's brother-in-law at Kentucky is apparently his high school coach. So there's going to be a battle there. Not counting Arkansas out by any means, but I do think the further along we get here, Houston's going to be difficult to beat. He visited there unofficially over the weekend, and then he scheduled like a 4-day long official visit to round things out, at least with his scheduled trip so far. So we'll see. Mika Murnin, mentioned him a minute ago, still top 15 after just not playing particularly well his junior year here in the States, and then not playing at all this summer. Now, that being said, he really has an opportunity to reestablish himself in the coming weeks. He's going to be playing in the Euro Cup with Team Finland, so he's going to be on display, can kind of, re-up that stock a little bit for sure. I'm going to be anxious to watch him and see what strides he's made over the course of the summer. NC State, Michigan, Arkansas, maybe Indiana as well. Not sure that he is as high on the board as he once was for Arkansas. So I do feel like if they really, really made a push there and prioritized it, they'd have as good of a shot as anyone to land him. I don't know that that's necessarily the case right this moment. And it could be that they've cooled on him, and it could also be that there's no reason to be hot right now because he hasn't been doing anything. I will say I'm going to be anxious to see that if Arafan really starts trending towards Houston even more, or if he commits there, will that change quickly? Like, are they super motivated to get a front court piece in the high school class? If they are, that would be the natural pivot to really go all in on. Tay Kenny is at number 21, which I feel like that's pretty low for Tay Kenny in this particular class, especially since he was still putting up some pretty impressive numbers late in the summer while he was pretty clearly injured. He's a good player. He's a top 15 guy, in my opinion, whatever. That being said, not hearing nearly as much Arkansas buzz with him as there was a couple weeks ago. Louisville seems to be in a really strong spot here. Now, maybe the visits he takes over the next month or so will change things a bit because he's kind of going on that world tour, Arkansas being one of those. And, you know, he's a Kentucky guy. So you look at them, you look at Louisville, but you have to consider he grew up in the state of Kentucky, which means his familiarity when it comes to the Wildcats is with Coach Cal and everything that he's done with guards in particular, and all those guys who've come in through there who he grew up, you know, watching and identifying with. John Calipari brought him in. So there's certainly some allure there when it comes to Kenny, but I feel like Louisville is probably the team to beat, at least for now. Abdou Toure is at number 34. I think he's probably going to end a little bit higher than that. I think he'll wind up a top 25 prospect, but this isn't overly egregious. I don't think. UConn is the top school to watch with him as a Connecticut guy. I know others in the Big East have been involved as well. I'm just telling you, John Calipari, he really likes this kid a lot. And at some point I'll be able to tell you guys why I know that, but I'll just say I could definitely see a world where Abdou Toure winds up being a Razorback. And maybe we just need to see some of these other recruitments shake out first. I don't know, but just remember that name. Keep that in your back pocket because something could come from that. Cole Clore at 52. Dang, 52. That's harsh, man. I'm not too surprised to see that. You know, it's him being quite a bit lower than the consensus, just kind of knowing where they place their value in terms of their evaluations over there. But we talked about him a lot yesterday, so we want to get into the full scouting report. Shooter, right? 6'7", Arkansas late to the party. But, you know, if this feels like a fairly open recruitment, eyes on the 2 North Carolina schools, Florida, UConn making pushes. But like we've been saying, you know, when teams like Arkansas and Kentucky come and offer you after Peach Jam, after you've already made a list cut to a Final 8, but you automatically schedule visits with them, that's notable. That means that you are picking up something that they're putting down. So a little bit of a hard one to handicap right now, but let's see if we get to that visit and what Arkansas is able to make of it. So there you have it with the Razorback targets. Now there are other guys that we didn't really touch on here. You know, Arkansas has been involved with Christian Collins and Taj Ariza and Caleb Holt, you know, some of these other guys in there. There just hasn't been too much buzz at all just yet. Now, if that changes, then we'll certainly reevaluate. But kind of the top targets or the guys who are known to be visitors, that's where they're at in this rankings update. And it's kind of where things stand with them at this current point. So there you have it. Out of here for the day. Really, man, I'm hoping that they drop this SEC schedule on Wednesday because I'm itching to talk about it. It's one of my favorite episodes. We usually do a pretty fun breakdown with a bunch of different angles from that. So hopefully that's what we have tomorrow. If not, then it'll be the next day and we'll find something else to talk about tomorrow. But anyway, out of here. Appreciate you guys for tuning in, tapping in as always. We ride it on the Pot the Palace. You know the place. Same time, same channel in the morning. Appreciate you guys. I've been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas.